Hello, welcome students. Today we're going to be going through the start of a new chapter today. We're going to be talking about lists. We're going to be creating a game called Snowman, which is very much like Hangman at the end of this unit, so you guys can look forward to that. But in order to get started with lists, I just wanted us to take some quick notes. So today what you're going to be doing is taking notes, and you will be taking a picture of those notes and uploading them as your submission today. So before you do anything, remember to sign in for today and get your participation or your attendance done, all right? And then grab a notebook, a pencil, pen, something like that, and we're gonna take some notes together. You can also follow along with me with Snap. Now, if you're having a tough time getting into Snap, let me know. You should know your username and password, okay? And it should be no different. The website should be no different than before. I already have it somewhere on my Google Classroom from way back at the beginning of the semester. So look there, all right? If I remember, I'll post another link to it somewhere else. But I just go to Google, I type in Snap and then Berkeley, and it pops right up. So let me know if you're having any trouble there, but here we go. I'm gonna share my screen with you, and let's get started. So share, here I am. All right, so lists 4.1. I will tell you things that you should be putting in your notes, so just pay attention to me here and turn all other music off and just pay attention to me for the 10 minutes that we go through this, okay? So just a quick warm up. What kind of block is this? Right? So this is a variable, right? So what is the value of index? So if we set index to 5 and then we change index by 1, the value should be, yeah, you guessed it, 6, okay? All right, so what will the sprite say when the green flag is clicked? Now, you know, these are Mr. Palzowitz's notes. If you remember Mr. Palzowitz, you'd see his name there, right? So it's gonna set Palzowitz to name, then it's gonna say the length of name. Let's see that, I don't know how to spell Mr. Palzowitz, so I'll use my own name, right? So I just wanna go to a new, let's do it right here. Let's do it right here. Okay, so if I go to, so if I make a variable, I already have a variable called name. So I want to make what? When clicked, set name to, okay? So when clicked in control, variable set name to space. Okay, and then the last thing is say length of name. So I'm gonna be in looks for say, and then length of name, that was green. Okay, length of, there it is. And then if you want name, that's a variable you bring just down here. So click on it, 6, right? Because I have 6 letters in my last name. All strings or like words, things like that, that you bring into Snap are actually a list of letters, right? So if you think of like a shopping list or just a list of basketball teams, something like that, we use lists in Snap to do a lot of different things. So they're going to be very, very helpful in the games we're making coming up. Let's just put it that way. Okay. So where does this username go? So if you do ask, what is your name? Where does that go, right? So I type something in, where does it go, right? So hopefully you remember when I do that, it goes to answer, okay? Goes to answer. So if I don't set answer to something, like here I ask, what is your name? And then I set the answer to name, right? I won't remember the answer after I ask another question, okay? Another little warm up. What will the sprite say when the green flag is clicked? Okay, so he has this one on the next slide, so we'll just go to it. It says a list, right? So if I go list, P-A-L-Z, right, here's what a list looks like in Snap, right? So find the list block. And this is where I want you to follow along with me, okay? So follow along with me in Snap. and make sure you know where everything is. Okay, going through the motions here being very important. So find the list block. Where is it? So it's in the variables tab. Here's a list right there. Notice it has arrows so that you can add things to it, and you can type in each one of these, right? So I made a list called a list that is just a list of groceries, right? And then I put that into a set groceries. So set a variable I called groceries to that list. Very simple, right? Okay. So here's what I want to do. Modify the following script so that the sprite says every letter in a word. Okay. Set word to happy. Say letter 1 of word for 1 second. Okay, let's just look at that one for a second. So I'm going to take this, and then it says to set word to happy. Do I have one called word? No, let me make one. There's a variable called word. Here we go. We're going to go set. Oh, all right, I don't need this one. Set word to happy. And then I believe we had the say letter 1 of word for 2 seconds. If I click on it, H. Okay. So now how would I get it to say every letter in the word? Okay. How would I do that? I would have to repeat this. How many times? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would need to repeat it 5 times, right? I would need the length of the word that I'm saying, length of word. So let me grab the repeat block. Control, repeat. How many times? I want to repeat this, the length of the word times. Okay, well, let's see what happens. H, H, H. I'm only ever looking at letter number 1, right? So what we need to do is switch this letter number 1 every time we go through this repeat block. We call this traversing a list. Okay, so that should go in your notes, traversing a list. And what we have here, what we eventually get to is right up here. It's the exact same thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this, pop this here. Instead of name, we're going to go word. Yep. And we are going to set an index. Okay. So all I did was I made a variable called index. I set it equal to 1. And then after I say the first letter in the word, okay, so letter index here, let me get this out of here. And I'm going to duplicate that. Okay, so what's going on here? I am traversing this list. This picture right here should go in your notes for traversing a list. Okay, so pause it here, and then we'll go through it. So here's how this works. We're going to set our word to happy. We're going to set our index to 1, because I want to say the first letter first, right? Then I'm going to say, I'm going to repeat this the length of the word times, so 5 times. I'm going to say letter 1 of the word for 2 seconds. And then I'm going to change my index to 2. I'm going to say the letter 2 of word for 2 seconds. So when I click it, H, A, P, P, Y. Do we get how it works? Okay. It's called traversing a list. And even though this doesn't look like a list, every string or every word that we have in some sort of text format is a list. It's a list of letters, right? And so that's what we're doing here, okay? Now, this right over here asks me my name. So if I go Justin, right, and I hit enter, it's going to spell my name out, right? I do 1 second instead of 2. Traverse the list, and then it's done, okay? I want you to make this for yourself. Make this and then save this as 4.1 notes, okay? Do that for me. Okay, so those are lists. Okay, so we have the same thing right here to say every letter and every word. We went through that already. Okay. Now, I want you to think about this. You don't have to write this down, all right? But with your new knowledge in your notebook, write down the first name of the person to your right. You can write down your own name, okay? Describe in detail an algorithm to write your name in reverse, okay? So for example, if your name was Assad, you would write D-A-S-A. Once you're done, okay, just think about it for a second, all right? So here we go, Assad. Name, Assad. Count the number of letters in the name, right? You'd want to know how many times are we going to have to say a letter, right? We're going to have to say a letter 4 times, right? And then assign each letter in the name an index, right? So that's why I called them variable index in my last program, okay? So each one has an index. Assad, the capital A would be 1, S would be 2, little a would be 3, and then the D would be 4, okay? So there's index is equal to 1, okay? But what in reverse, right, we would want this to be 4, right? We would want the D to go first, then the A, then the S, and then the capital A, right? So that's what we would run. Let's use this right here, okay? Let's use, there it is. Let's use this equation right here. Let's see if this makes sense. So the length is 4. Our index is 1, so we're going to subtract 1. So that's 4 minus 1, that's 3. Plus 1 is 4. So now my index that was 1, right, has now become 4. Let's see this as we go through the rest of them, okay? And then after we do that, we're going to increment the index and keep going until the index, which starts at 1, is equal to our length, which is 4. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so index is 1, but in reverse, using this equation, we get 4. Index is 2, so length minus 2, so 4 minus 2 is 2 plus 1 is 3, so the S becomes index 3. The 4 minus 3 is 1 plus 1 is 2, so our 3 becomes a 2, and then on the last one, our D becomes 1. Okay, we just traversed the list and did something to it. Okay, there it is. Now I want you to try this one out and see what happens here, the split command. Now we're going to use that a little bit. So it was green. So let's go to split. You just do Assad by, and then this is a drop down, okay? We want to do this by letter. And then why don't we save this to, just save it to name once. Hit it. Okay, and notice what happened. Name became a list right over here. Name became a list. Okay, easy enough. Back to our notes. It's a good one to remember, split. So in your notes, what I want you to do is put down, what does split do? Okay. Next, we're going to make a list. Okay, so where is let's make this list. Specifically, what I did is I set groceries. So I went to variables. I created groceries. I went set groceries to a list, again, in the variables tab. And then I just typed in all these groceries, right? You can make these more or less using the little arrows here, okay? So put that away. I already have it, okay? Oops. There we go. Okay, so make that list. Now we're going to talk about manipulating lists. So this is a really good thing to put in your notes. So how do you add something to a list? How do you delete something from a list? Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing next. So I want you to find these snap pieces as well. So add to list, add thing, delete thing, insert at a certain point at the beginning, 1, or at the end, last, or at a random spot. Okay, so you can put that in there. All right. Replace is another thing that you can do. So notice all these down here. Notice these up here. This is really what I'm trying to get you to look at here today. Okay. And then let's go. Is there anything else we need to talk about? Okay, so let's just click on this once. Click on groceries, and now notice what groceries becomes, right? A list where the first part of grocery is apples, right? That's how we would talk about it. Okay, that's it. We're going to be getting to the lab. You talking to me here really quickly. So probably be Thursday's work. So take a look at your notes for today. Make sure you take a picture and download them as your submission for today. And we will see you guys on Thursday. Thanks.